everybody! Welcome back to Northernlion Plays Dark Souls 2. You might be saying, if you're among the more astute viewers out there and you're paying close attention right now, like, wait a minute, this guy is wearing some of the same armor as Thornforge, but he's not Thornforge. Thornforge doesn't summon a big-ass lightning bolt and then completely miss these explosive zombies in the Dragon Aerie, which is where we are right now. And yeah, so I must admit I am perpetrating kind of a fraud here. The truth is, I already beat this area as Thornforge and spent about an hour recording it and getting through it and beating the bosses and doing very nicely. And then my recording software / hardware, I'm not sure which, just decided, you know what, never mind. We're just gonna completely mess up and you'll have to do it again. And in a lot of games, this doesn't make a big deal. Sometimes you can just replay this section from an earlier save, but obviously Dark Souls, it auto-saves all the freaking time. So I decided what I would actually do is get up to this point on my Faith character, and then I'll play it through. There are other options. I could have burned a bonfire aesthetic, but then it's not truly genuine because you're playing it through on like New Game Plus level difficulty as well. So I'm doing post-commentary here. I hope you'll forgive me. At least you'll get a chance to check out some of like the Faith miracles that you can use right now. Like I'm using Sunlight Blade, which is a powerful, fairly late game, at least in New Game 1, miracle that gives your weapon some extra lightning damage. And lightning damage, I believe, scales with Faith, which is why this is pretty powerful. But yeah, it's post-commentary. I know that bugs a lot of people. Bugs me too, believe you me. I would rather not do literally twice as much work to make this happen and struggle against some of these like difficult late-game areas, but whatever. We'll just talk as if it's a normal Dark Souls episode, and I hope that you appreciate that some effort went in to make this happen instead of just being like, oh, the episode's lost, forget it. Because we're at a critical part of the game. I wanted to make sure that we showed off as much as possible. So this is the Dragon Aerie. It's one of the areas in the game that people talk about in reviews. They'll be like, oh, in Dark Souls 2, I was waiting for the Anorlando moment. You know, the moment in, like, Dark Souls 1 where the gargoyles, I'm not sure they're called gargoyles, they're like lightning demons. They carry you over the crest, and then you see the beautiful, like, parapets and flying buttresses of Anorlando, and you're just blown away, right? This is the moment in Dark Souls 2 that sometimes gets cited as that kind of moment, because, you know, the shrine up there looks quite nice. I'm using a chime there, and I have 4 attunement slots, so I have Great Heal as one of my slots, which just saves me from using Estus. I have Lightning Spear, which is the lightning bolt, and then I have Great Lightning Spear, which is a little bit of stronger of a lightning bolt, and then Sunlight Blade, which is what gives my weapon that lightning damage, but in any case. Dragon Aerie is pretty difficult, and the main reason why is, A, those explosive zombies that, like, push you over the lightning bridge, or not the lightning bridges, but the hanging bridges. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and bet that I fuck this up. I'm pretty sure I do, and I, like, kill him, but right as he's gonna phase away anyway. Yep, there we go. Hindsight is 2020. What a weird way to record a video, because I can see all my own mistakes. It's like I'm critiquing myself. I'm like, oh, this guy's a piece of garbage. I finally understand where all the internet comments are coming from. I'm one with the audience now. Dragon Aerie is tricky, and it's tricky because of those ancient dragons, which you saw. I already killed one. We'll kill 2 more, I think, by the time we get out of here. And they give you good items if you kill them, or at least it gives you freedom to get the good items that are on the ground. But also, it's a little tricky to just figure out where to move, basically, because there's this, like, interconnected network of bridges, and you gotta figure out exactly which way to go. If you pull the lever in Aldia's Keep, which I did on my other character, but didn't on this character, then you also have to deal with a very difficult NPC invasion, but luckily, I don't have to deal with that. It's also very nice to be a Faith character, or a caster of any kind, when you're going up against these explosive dudes, because 1 lightning spear is enough to take them out, and usually I have anywhere from 10 to 12 lightning spears per life, so it's pretty good. Plus another 8 great lightning spears, so nothing wrong with that. It makes this part a lot easier. Generally, my experience as a caster, and keep in mind, I am going to do a caster run, I think, after this. Probably when the PC version comes out. I might take a small break, and then when the PC version comes out in a couple of weeks, then I will do a caster run. But I found that a lot of the game is like mirror image. Like the stuff that I found super difficult as melee is a lot easier as a caster. Like the ancient dragons. I'll talk a little bit about the difference between these ancient dragons and the sorry, not ancient dragons. These guardian dragons. I hope I didn't say ancient dragons like 20 times. We'll see the ancient dragon eventually, but I'll talk about the difference between this guardian dragon and the other guardian dragons later. But anyway, like the boss guardian dragon, way easier when you can just throw lightning spears at him from across the map. Basically, whenever he goes up onto the wall, you just take out your lightning spear, or great lightning spear, and, you know, cast it at him 3 or 4 times, and that takes off maybe 40% of his health, and repeat it a couple times, and he's done. But some of the boss fights that I thought were super easy, like Vestalt, which was like 2 videos ago, maybe 3 videos ago now, I one-shot him. I took 1 try to beat him on the melee character, and then on the caster character, it literally took me like a whole night. And it was so frustrating because I was like, I know this fucker's patterns, but Yeah. Anyway, if you're interested in my equipment, I'm using the Royal Kite Shield. It's a 100% block shield that has a very low strength requirement. I don't think it's as good as the Tower Shield. It seems to get me stun locked a lot, but I also have like super low vitality and endurance as a result of having, you know, 42 faith or something stupid like that to be able to wield a great lightning spear. And I'm wearing Vengarl stuff, and my sword is the Haida sword that you can get from Forest of the Fallen Giants, and then I've imbued it with lightning. Infused it with lightning, sorry. So why are these Guardian Dragons way easier to kill than the other Guardian Dragons? Well, they're in a much smaller area, so they actually don't get up and fly away. And that's the real problem with the Guardian Dragon boss, right? It gets up and flies away, and as a result of that, you get burned oftentimes. These dragons still have a fire attack, but it's the one where they shoot it out right in front of them, so as long as you do the standard, like, Dark Souls modus operandi, where you just kind of, like, target them and then circle around, you'll be fine. And of course, it also helps if you can whittle their health down a little bit by doing a Great Lightning Spear to begin with. So we are coming to the end of Dragon Aerie. Went right through his genital region there. That cut him in the throat that time. That should be worth a little bit more damage, I think. But yeah, we're almost done with Dragon Aerie. It's an area that a lot of people have a fondness for. It's probably one of the areas, one of the few areas in the game that I actually know very well, and I know it very well because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out just how the hell to navigate it, and I've fucked it up many times, and I've died to these guys many times, and that, you know, makes you stronger in the end. But yeah, and also it's very small, so it's pretty easy to figure out where all the items are. Lots of like magical stones that you can use for smithing here: bolt stones, pale stones, etc., etc. And I'll show smithing on camera at some point, but it may not be until the PC version comes out and I do a more complete run, probably with a Faith character that will be very similar to this. So consider this a bit of a preview. After we finish the Dragon Aerie, we'll have another area which is very, very difficult. There is a boss fight at the end of the Dragon Aerie. Kind of. Not at the end of the Dragon Aerie. It's actually the end of the Dragon Shrine, which is the next area. There's a boss fight there, and it's optional, so I'm not going to do it, because it's also extremely difficult. One of the, probably top 3 or top 5, at least, in terms of boss difficulties in the game. And again, I know that sometimes people are like, Northernlion, you always say that this is one of the most hard areas in all of Dark Souls 2. I always mean it, especially in the late game. Dark Souls 2 really picks it up, you know, in Dark Souls 1, or just Dark Souls if you want to be accurate, you know, bosses like Bed of Chaos. Bed of Chaos is not a difficult boss, it's just bullshit. But no one would ever say, oh, it's a super difficult boss. It's just, it's easy to die, but not because it's, like, complicated. Or, let me think of a better example of that. Who are the late? Nito, for example. No one would ever be like, oh, Nito's one of the hardest bosses in the game. Nito's pretty darn easy. And, you know, my mileage varies with Gwyn, but anyway. In Dark Souls 2, I think the curve is way more upwards. Like, Dragon Rider, no effing problem. I don't think I've ever died to Dragon Rider, at least, not when I was at least trying. Sometimes I might have been trying, like, a weird build and fucked it up, but, I hate when games do this, by the way, the like, motion sickness-inducing kind of like, oh, I'm losing my balance. I'd expect this out of Saints Row, which is a game that I actually like a lot, but, Dark Souls, I always thought this is kind of like a weird moment of, like, I kind of don't understand why it exists. I've also noticed, like, some black screen, like, flickering stuff. Don't worry about that too much. So we're in the Dragon Shrine. There's a bonfire here. It's not a super difficult area in the sense that there's no mandatory or compulsory boss fight, but the enemies that are in here, there's only a few of them, but they're really, really annoying. But there's some interesting items to get in this area as well. Some fan favorites from the Dark Souls series, if I remember correctly, and also some good caster stuff, even though I don't think I put it on because it's more of a sorcerer's type gear as opposed to like a cleric's type gear, which, even though I might not look like it, I am a cleric right now. And the reason I'm not casting so many miracles, by the way, is because, you know, if it's just you against one big enemy, miracles can work from afar, but up close, they're far from good. So there's a lot of these, like, Royal Sentinel type characters here. I got killed. What you won't realize, except because I'm telling you now, you will, is that via the power of editing, you're going to skip about a half hour of complete frustration here. And didn't that loading screen seem a little bit shorter than usual? Yeah, you're not going to believe me, but when I did this on my Let's Play where the capture device completely fucked up, I just went through this area all in one shot. This and the Dragon Aerie, I did all in one shot without dying. But then, of course, when I had to record it again for myself, I didn't get nearly as lucky. So you are only going to get kind of a truncated view of the Dragon Shrine here, but I think it's better than nothing. There's some items that we're going to end up missing because I've already picked them up on earlier runs, but I didn't want to narrate like 40 minutes of me just dying at the same spot over and over and over, so my apologies for that. But yeah, you come up this ladder, or sorry, this staircase that's kind of shaded. in the Dragon Shrine. You do it so you can kill this caster up here, and as a result of killing him, which we'll do right now, you don't have to deal with as much nonsense. Now, you can also make that jump there, and if you land on that platform, there is an iron lockbox, and it contains, it's an item that is like a Dark Souls favorite. I can't remember if it's the Uchigatana or... it might be, it's not the Dragon's Tooth, but that is in the Dragon Aerie. This is a pure Lion Strat area, by the way. But we'll fight some enemies in a second, I promise you that. Ooh, yeah. Also, their hammers hit through doors, which is bullshit because the Great Lightning Spear just, like, impotently, like, runs up against it. This is why it's nice to have Great Heal, though, because you don't have to waste your much-needed Estus flasks to make this happen. And this has been kind of like a speedrun character as well, which is why not like I'm in any kind of competition for actually setting a record in Dark Souls 2 or anything like that, not even close. But you know, that's why I have fewer Estus, because I was very much rushing through to get to this point so I could actually record it and keep it in time with the Let's Play. So this is kind of a cheesy way of doing it, but it's not true Lion strats, is it? By using Great Lightning Spear and kind of abusing, that was a really lucky shot, abusing the fact that I can, that was not a lucky shot, fit in this doorway, but the larger enemies can't. I can much more easily just kind of, you know, throw lightning spears at this guy from afar and then take him out with my weapon. I love using Sunlight Blade. I think Sunlight Blade is a great miracle. But the thing is, I have to use a chime in my offhand, which is my shield hand right now, to use it. And if I ever switch back to the chime that's in my sword hand, then I lose the effect of the Sunlight Blade. So I tend not to use it so prodigiously, at least not yet. But if you're coming up to like a boss fight, obviously, yeah, you put on Sunlight Blade and then you go through the fog door or something. See, I think I just tried to do it right there, but I messed it up. So, oh, I actually did manage to get it on. I can't remember if these guys will actually follow me through here, but I guess we'll find out. These guys super annoying, by the way. Might not look it, but are some of the most annoying enemies in the game. And, you know, you might look at them and say, like, oh, they're way smaller than the big guys. They must have lower HP. Well, you'd be fucking surprised, unfortunately. I do love Sunlight Blade when it actually works out effectively, though. It increases your damage greatly. So, like, Haida Knight Sword already has lightning damage in it. And then, oh, no, okay, good. Thought I made an editing mistake there. This is indeed the run, I think. And we'll heal again, and regardless of the catalyst, that'll heal me back to full, basically. Just because my HP is pretty low, probably, but anyway. Yeah, so Haida Knight Sword already has lightning, and then I was just like, what should I infuse it with? Or imbue it? No, it was infused. What should I infuse it with? I was like, fucking lightning, I guess, because Faith increases lightning damage. And then, by Sunlight Blade gives it even more lightning damage, and we very nearly got killed again. I guess we're just gonna Estus up here. And at this point, this is kind of like, the stairs are running a gauntlet, basically. I should Estus again. Do I Estus? Oh, I popped a life gem. That's fine. I have, like, I'm using Radiant life gems, but the woman in Majula, Malencia, I think, sells unlimited life gems by this point in the game if you've spent a few souls on her. So, at this point, I'm just going to run. And the reason I'm running is because I know that there is an end to this Lion Strat. If I just make it through this archway, then we're not going to be chased, because they have almost like an invisible wall there. Your goal here is to get to the Ancient Dragon, so I guess you've accomplished your goal. They've tested your mettle. So basically, I mean, should have let the Ancient Dragon talk, but when he talks, it just goes like meow 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 meow. So you didn't miss too much, as long as you can at least read the dialogue. So he gave us the Ancient Mist Heart. Or Ashen Mist Heart, sorry. You can, again, as mentioned, fight the Ancient Dragon if you want to. It's one of the more tedious optional boss fights in the game, so I'm going to save that maybe for the PC playthrough, along with some of the other optional boss fights that we've seen so far, like Vendrick. I may go clean up some of the bosses we haven't done so far. Smelter Demon, Pursuer is an easy one at this point. I'm trying to think of who the other optional bosses I have not fought are. Probably not the Walker, but anyway. So... after getting the Ashen Mist Heart, we're really only one boss victory away from being able to fight the final boss in the game. And I've mentioned this many times in the live commentary, but the navigation in Dark Souls 2 is a little, I wouldn't say wonky, it's just a little bit less intuitive than it is in Dark Souls 1. You know, when you get the Lord Vessel in Dark Souls 1, the doors kind of glow and then the seal breaks and you're like, oh, I need to go back to Anor Londo to go to the Duke's Archives. I need to go back to Demon Ruins to go to Lost Izalith, once you actually figure out what the names are, of course. But anyway, Dark Souls 2 is not necessarily like that. Pardon me. By picking up the Ashen Mist Heart, this gives us the ability to enter giants' memories. So if you've ever been playing Dark Souls and you've seen trees, basically, and by that I mean not really trees. They're like trees. They're giant corpses, but they look like trees. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about in just a second. The Ashen Mist Heart actually allows you to interact with them. I think previously, if you try to interact with them, then the game just says like nothing happened or something like that. But by getting the Ashen Mist Heart, that allows you to enter the memories of the giants. And the reason it's important to enter the memories of the giants is because you can get something called, well, you can get giant souls, which are important for fighting Vendrick if you ever want to do that optional boss fight. I'm just putting on the Seal of the King here, which is the ring that you have to wear to get through these doors. I've seen a lot of people complain about having to put on the ring to get through the door, like just having it in your inventory should be enough. But apparently this is also like a concealed loading screen, basically. So just by opening this up, you're concealing a loading screen yourself, basically. So I actually can understand why they would do it that way. And there's a bonfire in here, which we can rest at. And then you'll get to see me go through a boss fight at least a couple of times against an enemy called the Last Giant. But yeah, the other reason that you would, or that you have to go into this memory if you want to beat the game, is to get an item called the Giant's Kinship. And that is integral to basically unlocking the final boss, if you will. So right now we're entering something that's called the Memory of Jay. I can't stress enough that even though you're not going to believe this, that doesn't make it less true. I beat this boss fight on my first attempt on camera. And I was surprised. I was flabbergasted when I did it. I was, to stay humble, I was basically like, I didn't deserve that. I got really lucky. But you'll understand why I was surprised. Not that this is one of the hardest fights in the game, but you'll understand why I was surprised once I get in here and go to this fight. So, the Ashen Mist Heart is really neat because it lets you check out these memories, and it's kind of like getting like a Lord of the Rings style, like Helm's Deep moment here. You can see the war between what were, I guess, the humans or whatever race you would like to call Vendrick and the other people in the kingdom, and the giants that they've talked about so much in the lore up to this point. You know, Vendrick beat the giants who came from across the sea. So yeah, that's what this memory is basically like the invasion of Drongleik by the giants, which is really neat. And it's a boss fight that has a lot of spectacle, and it's a boss fight that I don't think gets enough credit for being like thematically cool in the Dark Souls 2 universe. So we're gonna S this up here, and yeah, it's a really annoying fight for many reasons. One of which being the fire bombs that are constantly thrown at you. But if you can see we're doing a decent amount of damage when we actually do manage to hit, and we've fought this boss before, somewhat. It seems a lot like the Last Giant in the, that did kill me. It seems a lot like the Last Giant in the bottom of the Cardinal Tower in Force of the Fallen Giants. And there is speculation that this is like the healthy version of the Last Giant that you fight at the start of the game. So this is like him at full power. But it's cool. It's a cool thematic boss fight, and I hope it gets the appreciation it deserves, even though you're constantly being hit with fire bombs, except for that one little area where the boss arena encompasses, and there's NPCs or other AI that can hit you and are real freaking annoying, but as long as you can deal with them, then it's okay. It looks like we're going to see me die at least one more time, but it's going to be a little bit of a shorter video, and I apologize for that, but at the same time, please recognize that it was way more work. Like, to make a video that's just a little bit shorter than your average Dark Souls 2 video has been like triple the work for me and a ton of aggravation. So I'm mostly just happy to see this area finally committed to film and then never have to touch it again until I'm recording it on the PC and probably don't have to run into these issues so much. But in any case, I hope that you've enjoyed the episode regardless. We're not quite done yet, but I hope that it didn't take away from your enjoyment too much. Plus, it's kind of a neat preview of like what a Faith character that I have at this point might look at. Or it might look like, I should say. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to put Sunlight Blade on. I think eventually I just get so tired of it that I stop putting it on because I just know that I'm going to die right off the bat. We can wait for these fire bombs to come in, and the reason it's kind of okay to wait for them to come in is you want to make sure you have the maximum amount of time possible to like get to the other side of the screen. It also, sometimes they can kill the NPC giants, which are super annoying, but usually for the cost of like one Estus, you can make it over here and then just heal up. It doesn't really matter if we burn our Estus because the last giant the giant lord basically kills me in one hit anyway. The other reason it's annoying, obviously, like terrible visibility. We really got to roll under that, otherwise it comes in over top of our shield and just completely screws me. Yep, and I really dislike this fight because I feel like I'm staring at his feet the whole time, but apart from that, I think it's kind of a cool boss fight. But I think that's probably where we're going to stop the video. I hope you've enjoyed it, regardless of kind of its weirdness. As always, if you did enjoy it, make sure to click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, hopefully with some live commentary.